Good morning, everybody. It is Monday. It's DCA time. We have Marty, of course, Marty Party, and we have a new addition to the crew, Jacob. Oh,
What's
thanks for
up,
joining us
Jacob?
today.
Hi, yes. Good to be here. Excited to be
So
here.
everybody knows Marty. I know my community knows you, Jacob, but you want to spend a second introducing yourself to everybody?
Yeah, so I've worked with James for the longtime viewer of James, and then I've worked for James for the last 6 months or so. And love charts, love TA, love trading, and yeah, excited to be here.
Good. Another trader like Marty and myself. Trader is the way out. So let's get into the story today. But first of all, Marty, how are you doing? Axe
I'm
Capital is
great,
looking
man.
strong. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm excellent. Had a great weekend. Yeah, we had a nice move over the weekend, altcoins especially. Lots of stuff happening, man. Behind the scenes, a lot of adoption happening. I'm pretty optimistic. I think that we're going to go into a strong Q4, a really strong Q4 crypto. I think between Jerome Powell dropping rates, potentially, I would say right after this meeting, I think after this meeting where they're probably going to pause, I think they're going to start dropping rates with Trump pressure. And then into, quantitative easing, I think we're going to see quite a run in crypto towards the end of the year. So I think everybody's setting up for that. So I'm excited just to get my setups right and to make sure everybody in the retail world, gets their fair share and doesn't get left out. A lot of bearish ramblings, and I'm always here just to squash those.
but it's true though, Marty, because there's so many tailwinds that I see, and we'll cover some of them today. So the second half is normally very strong for crypto, especially at this stage in the cycle. But there is some news which is kind of interesting. And welcome again, Jacob. Thanks for joining us. Forget the agenda. This came out. I made a video on this last week that the 4-year cycle is dead. And all of a sudden, Bitwise CIO Matt Haugen, I know you know him, Marty, too, says the 4-year cycle, crypto cycle, is dead, citing weaker halving impact and stronger long-term focuses like ETF growth, institutional adoption, which is treasuries, and post-Genius Act investment. He expects 2026 and the coming years to deliver strong performance, driven more by sustained and steady boom than a one-off super cycle. Yesterday in a video, I covered how much the ETFs have purchased and how much MicroStrategy has purchased alone, just those two players. And they've bought, basically, over the last year and a half, the US ETFs have bought the next, get this, the next 40 years of Bitcoin production. That's how hard this thing is in a year and a half. And then Saylor has bought, I think, more than pretty much all that can be minted in the year, in this cycle as well. So I'll go to you, Marty, first. Do you believe this?
Yeah, I've always been a proponent of the end of the 4-year cycle. I believe it's completely disintegrated. I think that the whole, notoriously, crypto holders were paper-handed. They were traders. They were in and out. They looked at the cycle as a guide. And I think with the announcement of treasury companies and specifically the regulation in the US, the holders of Bitcoin are just completely different. They have 20-year holding strategies. A lot of them legally can't sell Bitcoin for 20 years. If you look at Senator Loomis's SBR legislation, it's legally unable to be sold for 20 years. And people need to understand what a treasury is. Trade, you're unable legally to touch it. So I think that we have a completely different holder of the underlying asset. And the results in the markets will be obviously smaller pullbacks, shorter bear markets, and the ever-increasing logarithmic super cycle, I like to call it, where Bitcoin will slowly over time capture and suck all the liquidity from fiat. And who knows what the ultimate. I keep telling people, you don't know the actual figures, right? We don't know the top. Why? We don't know how much money the world is going to print. We don't know how much money is coming in from its global liquidity. But ultimately, I think that the holders are different. They're not trading Bitcoin anymore. They're holding it as a treasury. And thus the cycle is dead. The miner impact is different. I just think that Matt, I give him props for stepping up and making the statement and putting a little bit of credibility behind my own theory that the 4-year cycle is dead. What do you think, Jacob?
Well,
Sorry,
before we
go
go to
ahead.
Jacob, there's an interesting point here from Nova McClure. I hope I said that right. And that is at the end of every cycle, everybody always says the same thing. It's like super cycle from 2017, 2018, and then we had 2022. But this time is a little bit different, I believe. And I'll tell you why before we go to Jacob. It's treasuries. It's treasuries. 35 companies have bought over $100 billion in Bitcoin. Okay. That's over 1,000 Bitcoin each on, at the very bare minimum. And we're adding at least one or two every couple of days, if not every single day. And that's what's crazy. All right. It only takes $50 million a day approximately to buy the Bitcoin supply, but there's way more treasury money coming in. So we're looking at a classic case of supply meets demand. Jacob, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I'm maybe going to challenge the other side of things and say, I don't know if the traditional 4-year cycle is still in play, but I agree with your sentiment to say, everyone at the end of the cycle is like, this time's different. This time's different. And I feel like from a risk reward perspective that we might have to assume that this cycle is the same. But I do believe that the pullbacks are going to be less sharp as they have been before. And we've even seen that in this cycle already. I think the moves upwards are less explosive. I mean, they've still been impressive, but less explosive. Pullbacks have been less sharp. And I do think we're going to have a nice rally here into the end of the year, like Marty said. But overall, I do think that we will get some kind of pullback. There always is. And I will be planning for that.
Yep, exactly. And it's always good as well to take a little bit off the top too. And we'll talk more about that in a minute as well. But let's look at this, okay? The stress test. Marty and Jacob, you all heard what Novogratz did. He just took 80,000 Bitcoin, dumped it on the market. No TWAP, no OTC, no nothing. This is the biggest dump of Bitcoin ever in the history. Last time that happened, it was Luna, and that took the market down and triggered the bear market. This time, not a blip from Joe Consorti here. That was it. The amount of liquidity to be able to absorb that type of dumpage was quite astounding. Marty, to you first. What did you think about that?
As a friend of Mike, I think he did a really good job here, and he's kind of moving Galaxy into the role of sort of intermediary between large holders of Bitcoin that want to sell without too much market impact, and that's very much needed in the industry. So I applaud him for doing this in the way he did it. Remember, I followed this from the start. I was actually on a plane over the ocean when the 10,000 wallets I got alerted on my computer, and I started following this, traced them back to their origin, validated everything, all the theories, and then watched it play by play as they shuffled the 10,000s into 20,000 and marshaled them off between all the centralized exchanges that bought them. But they sold a lot of Bitcoin. Binance, Coinbase, OKX, Bitsum, Upbit, some existing Bitcoin whales, some treasury companies. It was a fire sale. They literally sold out all 80,000 over the course of a few weeks. I think it was about 2 weeks. And Bitcoin's price went down, guys, 4,800 and recovered almost back to all-time high. So it's, I think, the greatest stress test of Bitcoin in history. If this doesn't change people's minds about this market, I don't know what will. And that's where I stand right now. It's very hard to convince people. You can present them with all the facts in the world. Bears are bears. They don't understand the technology. They don't understand the strategy. And there's nothing you can do. If they're not convinced, after 80,000 Bitcoin was sold on the open market, that the buy walls, the buy pressure from reserve treasury companies is right below the price right now. If you look at the order book, it's right below the price. I don't know what will ever convince them.
There's an interesting twist that I don't see anybody talking about regarding this 80,000 Bitcoin. There used to be, back in 2011, a company called mybitcoin.com, and they went down for a week, and then they disclosed a week later, oh yeah, we've been hacked, we lost 80,000 Bitcoin. This is the Bitcoin, according to the CryptoQuant CEO, Ki-Young Ju, that moved. So it was stolen Bitcoin or hacked Bitcoin or an inside job, and that was moved. Anybody hear about that?
There's been extensive papers written. There's been so many theses written about this 80,000 Bitcoin. I don't want to go there. I've seen from the conspiratorial side where it's the Solomon Brothers, and Mike Novogratz used to work for Goldman Sachs. He had an inside deal with the Solomon Brothers who went liquidated, had all this Bitcoin, found the keys. I've heard the whole conspiracy side, and all the way to the more, verified side where I went and dug deep on these wallets and found them to be original Genesis mined, which is actually called Coinbase. I don't know if anyone knows, all the audience out there, you want to learn something. When you mine the original Bitcoin, the Genesis mine of Bitcoin was called Coinbase. Actually, on the Bitcoin transaction, it's written Coinbase. So most of these were original Coinbase Bitcoin from the first mine. So they are ancient mined coin from the Satoshi era. I don't think there's anything to say other than somebody mined these for 58 cents and sold them for 100,000. And you've got to stop sell shaming. That is a terrific trade, whoever that was. Congratulations. Move on, people. Don't sell shame all the time.
Brian Armstrong stole the name Coinbase. That's hilarious.
Exactly, Brian. And now you know why. Because it is a good name. It's the Genesis block of Bitcoin. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I would say I did hear something about the My Bitcoin thing. And to be honest, regardless of where the Bitcoin is coming from, I agree with Marty. It's a huge stress test to show that, we're at 120. We just rallied 20-25% in a few weeks. To then dump 80,000 Bitcoin and to hold in the pattern that we are now, right around 116 to 118K, is a huge testament to where Bitcoin has come and the buy pressure that is still there.
Yeah, exactly. Very big point. Now, we have another piece of breaking news that could be a massive tailwind. The question is, will it happen or will it be another nothing burger? This is the big SBR announcement that's happening on Wednesday. Trump White House will release a report on how they can stack Bitcoin for the SBR. And Lutnick says they will also be talking about other tokens, but treated positively but differently. I have no idea what that means. Any theories, Jacob, from you on these two little pieces of news? Because if the US does what they say they were going to do when they first announced this with David Sachs, and that is get to 1 million Bitcoin, which means buy another 800,000 Bitcoin, we're going straight to $500,000 of Bitcoin. That's it. That's the story. Is that possible?
Yeah. Well, I suppose it depends on how quickly they can raise the money. And I know potentially mentioned that if they were to use tariff income to start buying Bitcoin, that would be huge. Part of me wants the hopium and to believe that some big news is going to come. But last time we had that White House summit thing, it just ended up being a nothing burger. And so I want the hopium. I want to see something good happen. And regardless, I do think there is going to be good news for crypto, and that's something about a strategic reserve will come.
Yeah. Marty, I know you track this like a hawk. What does your gut tell you?
I have way bigger theories than that. I think that we're seeing a complete monetary transition in a global monetary system. I track the 80-year cycle. I'm a big believer in every 80 years, there is a new financial system. And if you go back, I can support it with evidence. In 1862, Lincoln issued the first greenbacks, which were the first debt-free, interest-free US dollars, 450 million of them. And then Kennedy in 1963 tried to issue another 4.3 billion. He was killed, but that was bypassing the Federal Reserve Bank. So that was in 1862 was the introduction of what we now call, the US dollar. 80 years after that, if you add 80 years to 1862, you get to 1942. 1944 was Bretton Woods, July 1st. That was the second cycle where they introduced the notion of, we all know, the monetary system we use today. Fiat, dollar, reserve currency, fractional reserve system, eurodollar, petrodollar. What's 80 years on top of 1944? Any geniuses? 2024. We are moving to the next 80-year cycle, and Bitcoin plays the pivotal role. The US government has decided and decreed, hired everybody that they need to, and the narrative is clear. We're moving the debt, the fiat debt, into hard money through Bitcoin. That's what's happening, and we're liquefying it to stable coins. And to me, it's a no-brainer. So I think they're going to announce the SBR, and they're going to announce a very aggressive buying agenda. And we'll see how it plays out, but that's my theory.
And we're seeing that as well because of all the front running. I honestly believe those that were in that inner kind of White House loop know something is coming and it's going to be quite big. But let's talk about another tailwind, and then we get into a couple of charts. China M2 is soaring. This is pretty outrageous. I know we've all been looking at global money supply. We're obsessed with it. We know it tracks Bitcoin 80 to 85, 90%, depending on exactly the time of the market, etc. But this is an acceleration of money printing. China's M1 now is twice as large as the US's M1, which is also hitting new all-time highs. I think China's M1 is 8 trillion, and it accounts for 33% of the G10 total M1, positioning China as the #1 driver of global liquidity. Now, there is another chart that we can look at too. I think I have it here. This one, the global M2 has a way to cook. I do believe we'll follow. Now, I also believe at this stage, M2 is not slowing down. So what happens if it continues? Jacob, do you have anything?
Yeah, I think the perpetual bull cycle. I mean, that could certainly happen, and I think money's got to go somewhere, and people's appetite for risk, especially. I think in my generation, I'm 26, and people are finding it harder and harder to make ends meet, and so to find outlets where they can invest and to put money is something everyone is thinking about, and so I think in general, risk appetite has gone up, and that money will have to go somewhere.
Yeah. Marty, money, Wyckoff, Global M2.
Yeah, I mean, we all know I'm a big proponent that Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin, but crypto in general, major L1 tokens track global liquidity. As I said before, I think it's a sponge. All global printed money is either going into gold or Bitcoin. It's going into hard money. That's the new system. And it'll continue to move up while they print money. I mean, guys, if you do some very basic, I mean, you can look at my hard time frame chart. It's pretty obvious. You can track it. That's with the 84-day lag. So we lag just behind M2. If you track M2, you'll see we're literally tracing it. Obviously the small moves are all about liquidating longs. On a hard time frame like that, you can see it's almost completely tracing. So when will that stop? Well, it doesn't stop till that red line stops, and that red line doesn't seem to be stopping. But at the end of the day, you've got to understand that when they created fiat, they didn't have an exit plan. They didn't have an exit plan for printing money. Okay. And if you look at the debt of the US, it's 37 trillion. If you remove fraudulent debt, which is around 2 trillion, if you remove the debt between the government agencies, remember the Fed lends to the Treasury lends to the government. So the government actually owes the Fed. So that's a cycle, a closed loop system. If you remove that 6.8 and 4.5 trillion, you come to around 22 trillion in debt. What's the money supply of the US, James? 22 trillion. Money is debt. Okay? People have to start to get their head around that. Money is debt, and we are seeing a debt into hard money transition. And that's what we're seeing on the hard time frame. We're basically sucking in the liquidity into gold and Bitcoin. This is not your normal Bitcoin. This is not Silk Road. This is not fun and games. This is being used as a liquidity sponge. This is where they will hold the value.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people calling for crazy targets, not just the Bitwise and the VanEck at the 200Ks and the Tom Lees, the 250Ks. But last week we had Citibank come out. Citibank, conservative US bank, say Bitcoin's going to 200,000 by the end of the year. That's just insane, like a near doubling for a big conservative bank to come out and say that. I found that very profound. Jacob, did that take you aback?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that would put Bitcoin at what, over 6 trillion market cap, 6, 7. And so, I mean, that would be, that's alarming, but also in a way, I wonder if it's the normies retail, not retail, but the normies starting to FOMO in and say, oh, this Bitcoin thing might be something. And we see that with Citibank, which is really interesting.
Well, I mean, misunderstand, Jacob. The normies don't have any money. We're actually in a recession. We just haven't been narrated that we're in a recession. We've been in a recession since 2020. Mm-hmm. We haven't had new issuance into the retail world since 2020, since the last print. So they've purposely been doing this. There's no coincidence Jerome Powell won't lower rates. There's no coincidence Jerome Powell is being stubborn about printing money. This is an accumulation strategy before they inject new liquidity into retail. And that's just the reality of it. People have never had higher credit card debt. We've never had a higher debt to GDP ratio. There is no liquidity. Liquidity has been circling around in crypto for 4 years. Okay. When new money comes in, they will run television commercials for crypto. It's going to be the greatest bull run you've ever seen. And the institutions and the sovereigns will have already stacked their bags. And that's what this is all about. So in my opinion, the retail will come. They haven't come yet because they haven't got money. They literally can't even pay their bills. They're working 3 jobs to survive. The wage gap is ridiculous right now. So I think wait for rate cuts to come down and QE, and you'll see retail come.
Yeah, it's funny because then, you know, the tailwinds are just insane this time around. I can't even believe it. Not just the treasuries, but you got people like Ray Dalio, who's a legend in the space. He ran the #1 hedge fund on the planet for 20 years straight. Okay, that's an extremely hard thing to do. He says stick 15% of your money in hard assets like Bitcoin or gold. For him to get out and just wag the finger, that's pretty big. But let's go back to Marty's chart here. I want to talk your take, Jacob, on how high we could go. Marty says target remains 125K. I guess that's in a very...
my chart's just it's a sequence. The next target is 125, short consolidation, then 140, then we'll get to a Wyckoff reaccumulation, I believe. You can see there, which is, one of those, we had a 300-day Wyckoff reaccumulation last time. So that could take us a little while to get through, but we'll follow global liquidity up there at the top, eventually hitting around 160,000, I believe, by end of the year or early Q1 next year.
So that makes you bearish compared to Citibank and Tom Lee.
No,
and
it continues after that.
Yeah.
Basically, okay, this is where I am right now. I haven't shown the distribution, which will be the top. I think the top is around 250,000, where there'll be a short-lived bear market.
Yeah, so like, but what does your chart say, Jacob? Because I know you have some good things to show here. Mm-hmm. I can remove this, but I'm very interested in how high we could go, because the price predictions in short order, like a lot of people saying 200K, 250K by the end of the year, that's only 20 weeks away. Can we pop that high in that window of time?
Yeah, sounds aggressive to me, to be honest. Looking at the Bitcoin chart here, one of the models, so as mentioned before, I work closely with James. A lot of the models that I'll be showing off today are from James's team and the devs there. One of the big indicators that I really love to look at is what we call LILO, or layer in, layer out. And it gives us, it's really nailed the last 2 or 3 months or so about where our support and resistance levels can be. And it also starts to project out where we could go. So we can see, if I zoom in here, currently we have found support right on this level 6 of the LILO. And then generally speaking, layers 9 and 10 are more of your further out price targets, potentially your blow off top price targets. And so either way, I think our first stop, similar to Marty's chart, is 127,000 up here at this level 7. Then afterwards, I think we could see some kind of, I think we're getting the accumulation right now. Actually, we're starting to consolidate here. I think if we can pop these highs right here around 120, very quickly we can move into 127. Maybe we have a short accumulation, but it really depends on how euphoric this move ends up being. I'm kind of, if we're going to see a sustained cycle, in my opinion, we're going to need to have those consolidation periods, and we cannot just go 10% every single day for a week or two, because that usually leads to a sharp sell-off. Too many people are in profit and the selling starts happening. But at least according to this LILO, I mean, we could get up as high as 181K.
There's 175K tracks with Global M2, if history repeats. But the crazy thing, though, and Marty, the Global M2 continues to go up. So normally, Global M2 explodes, just like you mentioned, for 4 to 6 months, and then it consolidates, it stops. But right now, we're seeing it continue to rise. Marty, how long more can Global M2 continue to go up? Would China just keep on printing like mad?
Yeah, I mean, they're leveraging the future. They're borrowing from the future to spend today. So it's all about, just remember the way money is created. politicians say, this is the life that I will get you if you vote for me. Well, they got to pay for that. And so to pay for that, they issue bonds, and the banks lend money into existence. So these politicians in this Western world just keep promising more and more, right? Now we're going to move around. Trump just said we're going to move manufacturing back to the US. Do you realize how much money that costs to build manufacturing in the US? China is in the biggest real estate crash of all time. They're so underwater, it's ridiculous. Plus, all of their manufacturing is now dead because it's getting moved to India or here home to the US. So they're going to have to issue money. This is a perpetual machine. There is no plan. Okay, they're going to continue to print money and debase, and they need something to debase into. They debased into gold before. This time they're going to debase, I believe, into crypto, into Bitcoin. So one Bitcoin will be one Bitcoin, but one Bitcoin will be worth a lot of money. Everything will move to a Bitcoin standard, and that's how they'll debase. In my opinion, that's going to happen.
Yeah, and,
so
and the crazy
money doesn't stop.
Yeah,
doesn't stop.
And one of the most exciting things for me is pristine collateral. And a lot of banks now will give you money to borrow against your Bitcoin. I'm not sure which will be the best player, but we also have other news too. We know the Marathon's raising $1 billion to buy Bitcoin, and they mine 700 Bitcoin a month. But the hash rate is now in Zeta's all-time high hash rate. Nearly.
Wow, is that a real word? Zeta hash.
And Zeta hash, yeah, which is so many zeros. I don't know, 16 zeros or something like that, if I remember. It's a lot. So that's kind of insane. And then we have other crazy news too. And I always wonder about this one. I know it's exciting, but PayPal now has just enabled all of their merchants to spend in Bitcoin and crypto. Do you think people will actually use their crypto balances to buy stuff? Jacob? No.
I don't think so. I think you have the Bitcoin maxis and the crypto nerds, if you will, that will not spend their crypto. Why would I pay for things maybe unstable? And then the other side, people don't know about crypto. And so, I mean, it's becoming more and more mainstream, but I have a brother-in-law that I'm kind of starting to get him into this, and he's 20, and just using Phantom Wallet and using Coinbase, using these things, he has no idea about any of this. So I think it's cool. I think it's great, and it's a good step in the right direction. Will adoption be there is another question. Because again, I would never buy anything for Bitcoin right now. So
mad.
I mean, obviously, I could talk about this for an hour. I've been living on crypto entirely for over 2 years now. I've not having a bank account. So
you were in Australia. Did you spend crypto to fund your trip there?
Traveled to Taipei, Hong Kong, Sydney. Crypto use everywhere. You can use crypto wherever you want. The US is just behind. I think there'll be several stages. Look, I know PayPal very well. This is great, but they're still fighting for their lives. All intermediaries between your value, your production, and the merchant for goods and services are rent-seeking intermediaries. Blockchain is invented so you don't need any intermediaries between your value, self-custodial value, and the goods and services you need. So they're technically not required. Technically, you don't need anything between your money and buying the things you need. So when we look at it like that, the ultimate goal will be direct native crypto acceptance by all merchants. And you can do that already. A merchant can just have a crypto wallet. They can put a QR code up. You can go with your Phantom wallet, click it, send it, instantly settles on a fast L1, done. In stablecoin, Solana, Sui, any fast L1. But there'll be stages of adoption. Now, this PayPal move, I applaud them because they're going to help get the word out. But ultimately, I think the Visa, MasterCard services, which are prepaid cards with stablecoin, will probably be the first large sort of intermediary that comes in to get adoption. And that basically means the merchants don't have to change anything. They're already accepting Visa, MasterCard. They don't care what backs the card. And, I've been using a Stables card for 2 years now. So I just simply go on my Phantom wallet, send some USDC or USDT to the wallet of the card, and go and spend it anywhere in the world. They don't know. They don't care. They're accepting Visa, MasterCard. So this PayPal is basically a competitive move to try and compete with that, okay, for their PayPal merchants. But ultimately, you don't need any of these intermediaries. Remember, there's around 5 to 7% overhead between the merchant and the user in order to accept money right now, and that's coming down. This PayPal move will bring it down around 2% down. Native crypto adoption is absolutely free. Nobody pays a cent. It's all absorbed by the network. So I think we're just going through a sort of a slow integration. And here in the US, the narration for 5 years has been crypto bad, thanks to Choke Point. We're really behind. But in the rest of the world, everything is really running on crypto.
This is a great point as well, which is adjacent to what we're talking about from Absolute here. Thank you for this. Because I remember I went to Meta headquarters, which is Facebook back then. And everywhere you looked, you could even go into the bathroom and go to a urinal. It'll say, we are mobile first. We are a mobile first company. They were obsessed. This is 2012. And they said, we need to make sure everything that we do is mobile first. But there's been a crazy lag between empowering people. So the question here is brilliant. PayPal was my gateway to my first crypto purchase 6 years ago. Don't underestimate the ease of having it already on phones. This is so true. People's mobile device should be their wallet for everything, with very tight security down to the silicon on the actual device itself. And now we have the speaker phone coming too. So I'm sure, Jacob, you're mobile native. Your life is on your little device. Mm-hmm. True?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with this statement. Everything has to be on phone, and not that this is crypto, but Tesla has taken that too, where your keys, it's your phone. Yep. Everything is going to go to your phone. Security will be on your phone, and that's the way the world is going.
Yeah. But Marty, any takes on the merging, another convergence of mobile devices and crypto? How big is it, and how late are we? Should we be where we were supposed to be 6-10 years ago? Or why is it taking so long?
Yeah, I mean, the duopoly in the US has been pretty strong. I mean, you can talk to Anatoly from Solana about this. I mean, his entire mission is to try and break that duopoly between Apple and Google for the mobile networks in the USA. But then you also have Elon Musk building an alternative internet, right? What's his agenda? And he's now enabled all cell phone carriers in the US to attach to Starlink. I just did it with my phone. I'm on AT&T on my iPhone. You can go outside, push. There's a new feature, connect to Starlink, and you can send a test message. So that's the future. I think everything's moving to the mobile phone. I've been using the Saga phone now for 2 years. It's my bank. Okay, I get paid in Solana. I pay people in Solana, and I fund my Visa, MasterCards with stablecoin on Solana. It takes 1 second, and your card is funded. You can go use your card. It's already happening. We're just behind in the USA. We're going to catch up real fast. I think everything will go mobile. Now, the problem is that Apple is way behind the iPhone. In fact, I'm kind of short Apple in the medium time frame because of that. I think their apprehension and their resistance to adopt the digital rail has put them behind at the hardware level. Because, I mean, for a crypto phone, you need 2 circuit boards. You need 2 entirely different pieces of the phone. You need the hardware ledger, which needs to be separate from the cellular network and the Wi-Fi network and the phone part. And so on the Saga phone, the Solana phones, they built them in 2 pieces. So they have a hardware ledger with biometric consent for your transactions. That's a ledger. It's a hardware wallet. And then they have the phone, which is an Android phone for doing your phoning and stuffing like that. And when you need to consent for a transaction, you use the one ledger part and use your thumbprint. And when you use the phone, use the other print. Now, Apple only has 1 circuit board. They've never had any plans to do a dual circuit board. They have no real intention to do a circuit board. So they're behind already, okay? And who knows this? China. If you go to China, it just came from Asia, there are crypto phones everywhere, okay? People are already on crypto phones with a digital yuan. So we're just behind, guys. I know it's hard to understand, but the US is behind, and they're going to catch up fast. And it starts with the Seeker phone. I think the Seeker phone marketing in the US from Solana is going to be mind-blowing. I think they're going to run a television ad.
Yeah. And the question comes in right now: is it worth it to order the Seeker phone? I did order the Saga phone way back, and it came with over $2,000 worth of stuff on it. So it was a no-brainer. I'd imagine there will be airdrops galore, NFTs galore coming with the new Seeker phone. It'll be well worth the money. The price is also, if I recall, it's under $500. I know that's a lot of money. Yeah, but
I mean, you
still,
want
I
to get
think
true story, Max? I spent $600 on my Saga phone. With all the airdrops over the years, that phone is worth over $100,000.
wow, because of
Especially Bonk. I mean, Bonk.
Yeah.
Bonk alone. But you
Yeah.
get a lot of airdrops. Okay, you get it's a very, very, the Genesis token holders are extremely high level airdrop recipients because they're OG. So the new Seeker phone, I'm sure it's going to have its own strategy. You're going to see a lot of airdrops to the Seeker phone. You're going to see a lot of partnerships with the Seeker phone. I think this is just a whole new way of thinking about it. And you go crypto on the mobile is the future. There's no doubt about it. Look,
yeah,
do you remember
Jacob,
when there were bank tellers? Jacob, do you remember bank tellers?
Yes.
Do you remember going to the bank and having a bank teller?
Yes.
And you got
yes.
your money and they give you cash. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, now there's ATM machines, right? There's ATM machines. ATM machines replace bank tellers. It doesn't matter who you are, you go to an ATM machine. They don't even have bank tellers anymore. It's redundant. It's disappeared. The shareholders wrote it off. They make more money on the shares. They don't need bank tellers. The same exact metaphor applies to crypto. Blockchain will replace cash. The phone will replace everything. The bank, everything. If you don't believe in it, just think of that analogy and same analogy going forward.
well, if you could queue up a Bitcoin dominance chart, Jacob, we need to look at that. A lot of people are thinking it's falling off. But before we go, I want to talk about this because this is driving half of all the Bitcoin buys so far. So the last 5 years, it's pretty nuts. MicroStrategy came out with their latest product called STRC for Stretch, which is basically a money market replacement. And they originally had planned to sell 500 million. It was oversubscribed at 2.52 billion, which is over a 5x oversubscription. And they did not buy this week because they're still pulling in the money from this, but they will be doing a smash buy over $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin this week. Mark my words. That is just insane. What do you think of these infinite money glitches, Jacob? Drive you wild?
Yeah, I mean, I think to be honest with you, MicroStrategy has always made me a little bit nervous. Now, so far, it's been great, and it continues to deliver, and it works until it doesn't. But so far, I mean, and I know conversations of taking over the bond markets and having these, they have the 8% yields and the 10% annual yields now. Why would anyone hold anything in bonds ever? And then of course, assuming we only get a 15, maybe 20% a smaller, a less severe bear market, then this will never end. And Bitcoin
James, can you explain to the audience exactly what all of these offerings are and who the intended audience are? Because I watched the YouTube on it and I find it fascinating. People don't understand this, and I think maybe you can explain it. Like each one is a specialized product for a specialized market. Correct?
They're basically preferred stocks. Easy way to think of them is like a dividend stock, but you get paid out a return on what you buy. And so imagine a share is $100. It'll give you either 8% or 10% per year. But the problem we have is there's a huge amount of money. It's nearly $8 trillion on the sidelines in money market funds. There's debt markets worth over $300 trillion. This is what he's going after. Now, the reason there's so much debt, the debt markets are nearly 3 times the size of the equity markets. People forget that. But the reason is there's many corporations that actually have to buy what they call treasuries. They're not allowed to buy equities with the excess cash they have. Think insurance companies. Insurance companies take in cash and sit on it for a long time to build a fund to pay out claims. Okay, they can't YOLO into hedge funds or Tesla stock or Nvidia or something. They need to buy treasuries that pay them a solid return. The company that started buying these products first, I can't remember, I think it was Stark or Stride was first, maybe I think one of those was first, was a company called AXA, big insurance company, and then Allianz, the big insurance companies in Europe that get paid very little on their treasuries. they YOLO into this stuff like there's no tomorrow, and there's infinite demand. You know, $500 billion issuance for the biggest ICO so far, or the IPO so far of 2025 is STRC, $2.5 billion raised
100%.
in a few days. So that's the market. And a lot of people think, well, it's not really for me, or some people think, wow, this is great. Instead of having money in my bank or in a money market, I can buy one of these products and hold it. Now, there is also a lot of variance on the upside. So we saw things like STRK. I can't remember. It fell down to 87, 88, 86, and then it went up to 112. So you can actually trade these things and still get your dividend too. But remember, if the price is 112 and you're getting 8% return, you're actually getting less return on an ROI basis of the cost of your share. But if you buy it at $86 and you're getting 10%, you get a lot more than 10%. So there's a little, it is not trivial, but there's a massive market for it. And that's what he has hacked into. And he basically sells these products and buys Bitcoin.
People don't understand that specifically here in the US with the regulatory regime, there's certain, I mean, people must understand each one of these products, each one of these stocks is catered to a certain client. Okay, there's income-focused funds, hedge funds, retail investors. There's companies like insurance companies that can't deal with volatility. They need coupon-based stock or dividend-based stock with attractive yields, low volatility. Each one of these things is based on Bitcoin, but is a product catered to each one of those organizational structures. So he's going after fixed income, money markets, low volatility like insurance and retirement funds. He's going for retail investors. He's going for dividend requiring investors. He's literally making a product for any type of investor in the institutional world. And you know, he communicates it in his speeches, but a lot of people get very confused as to why there's so many different versions of it. And that's why.
And remember, I was the first one into MicroStrategy, guaranteed of anybody on the internet in 2020. It's my third ever video is about MicroStrategy trade, and people still are confused by it. But the simple way to think about it is he's taking in fiat, buying Bitcoin with it, and Bitcoin's going to go up over time. In fact, I think if MicroStrategy did not exist, the Bitcoin price would probably be around $50,000, $60,000. Fact. So he is pumping all of our bags, and he's going to continue to do so, and only going to continue to accelerate as much as he can. Bitcoin dominance, Jacob. What do we see? A lot of people are worried that this is alt season big time, and alts have done very well over the past month, especially Ethereum. It's been mind-blowing for such a big asset, and shout out to Tom Lee, who's pumping the hell out of that thing. Doesn't get off the TV.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, Bitcoin dominance totally. I mean, just falling off a cliff completely here. Another one of the indicators, you kind of think of it similar to CTO's Larson line. James, feel free to jump in if you have any comments on optimized trend. But optimized trend essentially telling us when it's blue, we are in an uptrend, and when it's orange, we're in a downtrend. And the thicker the line, the stronger that trend direction is. And so you can see here, I mean, we have completely just fallen off a cliff here, which is interesting because Bitcoin continues to move. It's not that Bitcoin is necessarily consolidating or going down and then we're moving into an alt season. It's Bitcoin and alts are moving together. And this is interesting too, even if you were to throw a 200-day moving average onto here. I mean, completely falling through, perfect rejection right off the 200-day. And I think we will just continue to see this drop lower. And then one more interesting chart too that one of IA apologist, shout out to him, has pointed out to me is the USDT dominance, is that we have this big base forming down here, essentially how much stable coin are people holding. And so if this were to fall out from the bottom, I think we could see a huge rally in alts. And then just one more quick thing too. I think ETH, for people that are concerned about a alt run here, ETH is working on breaking out of its, this is a monthly chart now, ETH wanting to break out of this overhead resistance here. And if we can pop above that, I mean, I think it's just going to pull all alts with it along. And so a few things I'm looking at.
Yeah, Tom, I'd like to hear from Marty on these charts too. Tom Lee said he believes Ethereum could get to 15K by the end of the year. All right. The crypto market cap right now is nearly $4 trillion. One of my goals predictions for this year would CMC would hit 5 trillion. I was hoping for that. We're only $1 trillion away, which means we just need to make a 25% move, and then we hit 5 trillion, and that floats all boats. But Marty, Tom Lee says 15K by year end for Ethereum, and then 40K after that. How insane is that? Or is it logical?
I think it's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, it's just a shiller. But at the end of the day, I mean, Bitcoin dominance drops, but it drops around 4%. It did that in December. It did that now. I don't think it's a very significant drop from 65 to 61. That's what it does. It's probably going to work its way back up now. Ethereum just got pummeled in the beginning of the year. It's only recovered to where it should be. Ethereum should be between 10 and 12% dominance. That's where everyone predicted it would be, but it dropped significantly lower to around 7.5% dominance towards April, May, June of this year. And it's only just recovered back to where it should be. So in my opinion, Ethereum is where it should be. And this whole cycle to me is also changed in that we all know how my opinion on how Binance controls the market. You know, look at Binance Coin. It's now at 3.03% dominance, which usually signals a start of another move. I think when Binance starts to inflate their own coin is when you start to see the next large incoming move. Usually it goes BNB gains dominance, Bitcoin drops dominance, and then you see everything else pick up. And we're right there right now. BNB had a huge pump over the weekend. It's at 3.03% dominance. Ethereum's at 12. Bitcoin dropped to 61. I think we're going to see Bitcoin start tracking up. This is just a cycle, I believe. Tether prints money. It goes into Bitcoin. It goes into BNB. It goes into the alts. It's all about Tether. Tether are the ones running the show, in my opinion, Tether and Circle. And, I monitor this very closely. I don't see anything changing right now. I see a perpetual cycle of printing money, printing Tether, printing USDC, and Bitcoin going up. And Ethereum will go up proportionately, but I don't see it having a massive breakout run. There's no technical merit. They haven't delivered anything. What's changed? Nothing. Fundamentally, nothing's changed with Ethereum. Still got 14 transactions a second. So what's going on? Whilst other networks are delivering new things every day. So I don't understand the justification other than the fact that Tom Lee has mad Ethereum bags and he's married to them. There we go.
It's I believe in following the money and looking at the value creation of assets or stocks or whatever else. Solana has just doubled the revenue, of Ethereum and all its L2s for the 18th straight week. I mean, it's bonkers. And remember, Solana charges like 1/10,000th of the money per transaction than ETH does, but it makes it up in volume, over 100 million transactions pretty much every day. It's absolutely insane. So the question is, when will cream float to the top? Every metric you look at and people say, oh, well, transactions, or maybe there's bots or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just look at the money. The money the chain makes is a reflection of how much activity is on the chain. Tron is number 2, and Tron is number 2, making 10 million because of Tether. Tron does all the Tether action. And so far this year, Solana has minted over $20 billion in Circle as well. So, Jacob, does money matter?
Yeah, I think, I think a lot of people always struggle with the idea, why hasn't Solana run yet? And just being a user of Solana, I mean, it just far surpasses anything. And it is so easy to use and to onboard people. And it's so easy. But I think it comes down to the narrative, like what we were just talking about with Tom Lee. I mean, until continued money flow and institutional money comes in and the narrative around Solana is there, I think that, despite the metrics, it will probably lag ETH. As long as Tom Lee is pushing his things and other people are pushing for ETH, then I think
Tom Lee's a marketing genius. He said I think his words were, stable coins are the chat GPT moment for crypto, and Ethereum is right in the center of it, without even ignoring Tron. I mean, if you believe that, you buy Tron. Tron is the chain that does all the tether action. Marty, this is bonkers. What do you think?
I mean, I don't really delve in narratives and what people say. Words are cheap. I look at verification, blockchain data, and verifiable facts.
Well, you also say narrative makes price, but Marty, you say narrative makes price.
No, price makes narrative.
Price makes narrative.
Will go somewhere and people will have 100 reasons why. Okay, the price is moving. Now you got to look at who moves the price. Look at the number one validator for Solana. It just became Binance. Binance is now the number one validator of Solana, the number one validator of Sui. Binance has slowly been accumulating Solana. They have a strategy. They're also running the latest version, 2.3.5. Nobody else is. So it goes Binance, Helios, Figment, Galaxy, Ledger. Then Coinbase is now dropped to number 7. Binance is on a mission. They're buying up this network because they believe in it. They created an accumulation. They kept the price suppressed. It ran to 300. They were like, not right now. We're going to sell it to treasury companies. We want to become the number one validator. And now they've successfully done this. This was last week. They became the number one validator. Yep. So I think those days are over. There's a massive release schedule on Solana. It's going to blow minds. And it's just a question of time. When, not if, when. I think we'll go to $500 very fast.
And in answer to Jacob, you had a point, when is the money coming? So we've seen the TradFi money, massive TradFi money come into Ethereum. Blew my mind. In a month, $5 billion. Year to date, $7.79 billion into Ethereum. A huge amount of action. Nearly a quarter of all the money that's ever gone into Ethereum funds happened this year. And 5 billion of that, nearly a sixth of it, happened just in the past month, which is insane. But watch number 2. We had 311.5 million come into Solana. And much of that, they only have one. There's a couple of ETPs around the world, but Sweden and Germany and stuff, Switzerland, but they're all very small. But this one is really gaining traction right now, the SSK one from Rex Osprey. But there's 8 more about to be approved. So this shows you that the money is beginning to come. Now, there's 2 things that are interesting for me. One, it's a much smaller asset. Solana is a quarter of the market cap of ETH. And second, 67% of all ETH is staked, whereas 67% of all Solana is staked, 29% of all ETH is staked. So when you have money flowing in, it's trying to chase much fewer tokens that are available for sale. So this could, once the other ETFs come, and once TradFi, all it needs is a Tom Lee-like person who has the ear of TradFi to say, this is it. This does way more than Ethereum. It does 10x more. It is 20x more users, all that type of stuff. TradFi will understand that. So that is kind of an answer to your question. The money is coming, but not yet. And that's why I believe the second half this year will be great. Marty, do you believe there is such a person that can have the Tom Lee type effect on really talking to what is the number one chain that does 70%, 80% of all transactions on the internet?
Yeah, I mean, we just got the news today. I'm a big believer in Cathie Wood. Cathie Wood and ARK Invest just partnered with Sol Strategies as their official validator. I believe Cathie Woods is coming in as with ARK Invest as a proponent of Solana. Obviously, we've got Leah Wald, I'm a big fan of. She's a proponent of Solana. We have DeFi Development Corporation, another treasury, rapidly expanding their treasury. We've got Upexi buying Solana for their treasury. We've got at least 5 Solana treasury companies that are buying like mad. But your point, James, was very accurate. Just understand there's only 2 cryptos that Wall Street can currently invest in a regulatory spot ETF, and that's Bitcoin and Ethereum. So, they've gone pretty much all in on Bitcoin, and they've slowly started to trickle into Ethereum. But wait until there's 8 Solana ETFs. Okay?
Yeah.
Staking, yield-producing ETFs, which pay dividends. Okay? It's a game changer. Wait until there's SUI ETFs. Wait till they understand that these are volume-based assets. It's about how much volume they move. Okay? Ethereum, I'd like to ask Tom Lee, does he actually use Ethereum? Has he ever seen somebody Ethereum? I guarantee you the answer is no. I tried to use Ethereum the other week. I gave up after 10 minutes.
It's brutal.
It's not brutal. A blockchain. I don't know what it is. It's kind of a trying to be a store of value, but a move to proof of stake. It's not a good execution layer. So it's kind of floating in the middle. Some days it goes, oh, maybe we can be an execution layer. Oh, maybe we can be a store of value. Well, it's proof of stake. So it's stuck in the middle. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where Ethereum goes.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that Coinbase and the Base network are really pushing it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the big narrative. As far as I'm concerned, the big narrative is Base. What is Base's agenda? What is their strategy? Are they going to use Ethereum for their roll-ups until regulatory clearance and then make a Base token in their own chain? That's the big question. Is Coinbase going to make
I think they can spin up their own layer one.
There we go. Then what happens to Ethereum?
Yeah.
Then Ethereum
it dies overnight. It dies overnight because Base is all the action. That's exactly
what. What's the whole point of decentralization, James? The whole point of this whole thing is to eliminate single points of failure.
Yep.
Coinbase is a single point of failure for Ethereum right now. You can't say that about Bitcoin. You could say strategy, but if you look at the wallets of Bitcoin, 70% of Bitcoin is still held by random people around the world. Even on this entire bear market accumulation from choke point at the top of the 2020 cycle, which was created by the government, in my opinion, to try and get rid of Bitcoin, and was accumulated back up by institutions. Literally right at the bottom was the BlackRock ETF approval. Do you think that's a coincidence? No. So when you look at it like that, understand that 70% of Bitcoin is still held by people in the street like you and me. Institutions couldn't accumulate more than 30%. All of that, even when they dropped to 16,000. So at the end of the day, that to me is the answer. Ethereum has a single point of failure, and that's Coinbase. Bitcoin doesn't. Bitcoin is proof of work. It is the store of value. The rich have accepted it as a bank vault. Ethereum, I don't know what it's for. I literally do not know. I think it's the only thing that has an ETF outside of Bitcoin, so institutional investors are putting money in it because Tom Lee's pumping and shilling it like they're going to go to the moon. On what fundamentals? You know, if you're going to pump something, give me some fundamentals. Show me some usage. Show me a use case. I don't see it. Inter-border cross-payment settlements will be done with stablecoin. Okay? What's Ethereum's role? I don't know. So there you go, guys. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny. Let me try and share this if I can. Share screen. Give me 1 second. This is funny. I shared this last night, and I was just looking at some pair charts. This is Sol over XRP, and you can see the perfect bottom. I'm sure, Jacob, you see this as clear as day, but it shows you the violent moves. You know, the number of XRP per Sol is like 50 now, but it's been as high as 380. And I said, if logic ever returns to humanity and XRP stops trading at $12 million per user, daily active user, this will be the best pair trade ever. Just for giggles. Sometimes I do stuff just for fun, but I thought that was interesting. So that takes us to our next section, and that is this lightning round. We have a lot more content to get through, but we try to keep this to an hour. I want to thank you both for coming here. Details below, wherever you're watching.
Before you continue, for the audience, I want you all to look at chainspect.app. It's a website that will show you the actual live usage of the blockchain. It covers all the blockchains. Go have a look at the performance of blockchains, and you will understand what's going on. XRP runs at 30 transactions per second. Ask the same question of any XRP holder. Do you use it? Have you sent someone XRP? Before you invest, just go and get the fundamentals. Go ahead.
In fact, let's share that right now if I can, because I have been there before. Stop screen share and then present. I'm not good at this. Chainspect. Here we are. Fastest blockchains. Yeah. Is that popping up there? You want to walk us through this a bit?
Well, I mean, it's clear. There you can see. There's your favorite coins and how many transactions per second they're actually doing. Nothing even comes close to Solana.
Yeah,
it's not even a competition. They're at 1,600. Look at Base. Base is a sequence, a centralized sequencer. It's not even a blockchain, and it can barely even get over 100. Okay, so there's no users, guys, on anything else. No one's using it. If you look at the statistics of blockchains, 40% of transactions, including Bitcoin and Ethereum and L2s, is on Solana. No one else is using anything else. Okay. So before you make your investments, just make sure you stick to the fundamentals. adoption, liquidity, team, and delivery. How much are they delivering? Is the code changing? How often do they update the versions of the validators? How many people are using it? How many treasury companies and DATs, digital asset treasuries, have adopted it? That's all you look at. 2025 price is irrelevant. The dollar is more volatile than a meme coin. Okay, if you're looking at prices in dollars, the dollar is moving up and down like this every day. Look at the DXY. So all assets are moving up and down like this. It's got nothing to do with the asset. It's got to do with the underlying dollar. So in my opinion, look at Bitcoin versus gold. I've switched to Bitcoin versus gold versus Bitcoin versus dollar. Gold is a better price of Bitcoin. That's my closing spiel.
Actually, I forgot to share one thing too. It's a big earnings week. We're going to touch on one quick question. That is, what are you trading now? What do you believe is your asymmetric setup? But we have a big earnings week too. PayPal is on there. We spoke about PayPal. A lot of big names, a lot of big banks, a lot of big tech, MicroStrategy, Meta, Microsoft, some zombie companies as well. But back to our topic, final topic, lightning round. Again, we've got oodles of questions. Where was it?
Yeah, well, Tuesday we've got PayPal, Visa, Spotify, Mara Holdings. That's an interesting one, James. Mara will put earnings on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, I believe we've got Meta, Microsoft, Robinhood, ARM Holdings. Again, that's a super intelligence stock. I'm really interested in that one. It's Ethereum's 10-year anniversary on Wednesday. That should be interesting. We've got a ton of macro this week. I mean, if I tell you. Then on Thursday, we've got Apple, Amazon, Reddit, MicroStrategy, Coinbase, Riot. These are earnings this week, Friday, ExxonMobil and Chevron. This is an extremely volatile week. I mean, for a trader, this is heaven. We'll see where we are next week, Monday, because this is quite a week. And we've got on the 30th, obviously, the FOMC.
Exactly. And by the way, the two top miners in terms of how much they mine, Marathon number 1, 713 Bitcoin a month. And number 2 is CleanSpark, 685 Bitcoin a month. But they're both stacking Bitcoin, but Marathon is buying billions of Bitcoin. And they will soon have 58,000 Bitcoin as well in their bag. And they were trading at parity to their Bitcoin bag. Forget all of their real estate, all of their rigs, everything else was trading at parities, which is bonkers. So some treasuries don't quite work. And I've been trying to calculate the latest cost to mine, but we could get an upside surprise. If they're mining 713 Bitcoin a month at, say, $60,000, they are making a fortune on their business. That's what's really interesting. Anyway, best asymmetric setup right now. Jacob, what are you looking at? What charts are you looking at? What trades are you looking at? What do you like to play? I know you and I are in a lot of Tesla and a lot of crypto and a lot of perps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, it's going to be, I think Solana, even for the long term, I think Solana still looks great, especially if we just set a higher high, I think at 193. I'm sorry, 2 something. Or do you want me to I can share a screen too if you'd like.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know Marty is in Solana too, big time. Yes. So let me see.
1 second.
I got to remove this. So it does look like it's on the way up.
Let me know when that's going through. Oh, good. Oh, yeah. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So it looks like it, finally broke through our 200-day here, set a higher high here, maybe set a baby low. And if we can just keep pushing, I really still think all eyes are on ETH. And if ETH can pop through, I think it's going to drag everything with it. So
yes,
for me, Solana breaking through this prior high, continuing to push higher. ETH, all eyes on ETH, trying to break through this 3,900-ish area. And then I think Tesla holding its wedge or holding its pattern here. And let's see.
That's the wedge I shared on Cyber Bulls. We're going to break through the upside. Yes. We did have that scare on the earnings call. People thought it was low energy. And I did promise people we'd go from 300 to 330 in 3 days. So I have a few more hours left. We are $3 away from 330. And that's like, these dips are perfect for buying. And you see these, you know how I buy the dips, and I think they're fantastic. So I love when TardFi fumbles the ball because we can pick it up. Marty, what are your asymmetric bets right now? What are you looking at?
Oh, I'm 100% convinced any asset that's been picked up by a treasury company is asymmetric. Hyperliquid has 3 treasury companies, Lion Group, a couple of others. And now we've got SUI with 2 or 3 treasury companies, a new one announced today. I think that Sui is probably your best bet asymmetrically right now. Solana, Sui, and Hype. I think those three, along with a good deal of Bitcoin as your own personal treasury, is the way to go. I believe 40% Bitcoin, 20 to 30% Solana, 20 to 30% Sui, and the remaining bet in more speculative assets. But that to me, like Hype, that to me is the portfolio going forward. If the treasury companies are picking them, especially these basket ones, where they do a DAT, a digital asset treasury, that is Bitcoin, Sol, Sui, Hype. You're seeing that now. It's validating what we're saying. That is the way to go. Why? Because those are the volume adopter chains. Those are the technologies that are going to change the world. I can't stress enough. Don't follow the pack.
No.
Play the asymmetric.
And this is actually what. Exactly. And this is why the Bitcoin dominance is falling too, because these things are so strong. Hype, like I play what I know and what I use. So Hype is fascinating from a buyback perspective. Drift is extremely undervalued for the money they make.
Highly undervalued. You want to say, and Jupiter.
And Jupiter. So they're my three, and they're all perp dexes because I perp. And I like them for that reason, because they make money and they've got huge adoption.
One other one for the people to be aware of, IKA, IKA. It's an unbelievably incredible technology. It uses Sui as a sort of an MPC proxy, so multi-processor computation. This is the new technology where you can interact with assets on different networks, so multi-chain, without actually moving custody of the assets. So it marshals the transactions to the chains, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, whatever, without actually changing custody. They have their TG coming up. IKA,
Marty, what? It's not out
yet. Grab bag. Go ahead.
One to look out for. We love that, but
and
there
Zeus.
is no.
It's the equivalent of Zeus on Sui, pretty much. It's multi-chain.
People bug me every time. It's like, okay, Marty's on Monday. Zeus is dead. What's going on, Marty? What's going on with Zeus?
Zeus is far from dead. They have 36 full-time coders. That's actually more than the Ethereum Foundation. Zeus is delivering more code and more product than anyone else in the industry right now. They've built their infrastructure. They're improving their infrastructure. They're on level 2. They're going for level 3, which is near instantaneous. A ZBTC back to native BTC. But they're growing. They're unbelievable. The reason the price is down once again is because price is detached from fundamentals. Price is run by markets and market participants that barely know anything about technology. If you want to trade, Zeus is a great bag. Its upside is insane. It's the most asymmetric of the world.
Yeah, it's at the what we call the zombie level right now, which also could be construed as rock bottom, because you can see here it's tapping on that bottom line. You can probably draw a horizontal line there, Jacob. You know what I'm looking at, all across the bottom. It is right there. So it looks like there's no downside for sure on Zeus for those that.
Certainly asymmetric. I mean, if this is going to zero versus upside, I'll risk 15 cents for that.
Yeah, I think Zeus and IKA are very good asymmetric trades as infrastructure layers on the fastest chains, and obviously the network tokens of the two chains, Sol and Sui. And then other than that, I think Hyperliquid is the dark horse. I think, just like James said and keeps saying, which I think is very important. Making money is the goal. Chains that are making revenue will win.
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of users, Hype, but the users trade large volumes of money. We're talking $1 million trades. It's not like a retail play. We couldn't find IKA. Apparently, Piffin says it's on Gate.io. Could you not see it, Jacob?
It hasn't TG'd yet. That's what I'm saying. It's on the 30th, so 2 days time. Wednesday will be the TG, the token generation event. It will go live to the public. You'll be able to buy it. I think they're going live on many exchanges. But start learning about it, IKA.xyz, learn about MPC. This is the next technology in the crypto space, which is highly exciting because it eliminates all these centralized security bridges with multi-sig wallets.
This is a cool question. We'll wrap up with this. I want to thank you both for being great today. It's a super conversation. But show me a use case that my grandpa or parents can actually complete in 2 seconds on crypto. Marty.
I'm in a restaurant the other day. I go on my Solana phone. I send 1,000 USDT to my credit card wallet. I got my Apple Pay and I pay for dinner, and I just paid for dinner with stablecoin.
But it requires some setup.
No,
For the
use your
use case.
credit card. You're paying with crypto. There's your use case.
Yeah.
No banks
Magic
involved.
Yeah.
2 seconds.
Well, that's
is
what I
fast.
think too. Is Marty? I think we could do that, but can my dad do it, and can my grandparents do it? And I think that's a great question. What is the use case? I do think, and that's the thing. Even something like Apple Pay, my parents don't use Apple Pay, and so they're definitely not going to use crypto pay. However, I do think,
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
I agree. I mean, if there could be integration with Apple Pay, I think that'd be fantastic.
anybody that's asking, look, with all due respect, anyone's asking a question in 2025 about whether your grandparents or parents will adopt something, I'm not really interested in. In the next 10 to 15 years, there's going to be the greatest transition of wealth in the history of the world. The baby boomers are dying. There's nothing they can do about it. Entropy is getting in the way. You do die. Doesn't matter how rich you are. And all those assets, companies, investments will all get moved to the millennials. And what are they going to do with the money? You got to ask that question to millennials, not grandparents. We don't care about grandparents. Okay, we care about millennials, Gen Z, and Gen X. What are they going to do with money? Do they accept crypto? Do they try? When you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you look at? Your phone. It tells you the time, the date, the price of Bitcoin. You look at it every day. You look at messages. You trust your computer and technology more than you do any human or any bank or any government. Technology is already the most trusted thing to the millennials, Gen Z, and Gen X. We don't care about boomers. They'll never trust technology. Move on from that question. Thank you.
Yeah. And one final one. People want some comments on Sei. Sei is doing more transactions than Sui. I always look at Sui and Sei in the same breath, but they're not making as much money as Sui right now. Let me check out users. Yeah, definitely more transactions on Sei than Sui as we speak. Any comments on that? Tell the audience, Marty, how you allocate to these puppies. I know you're mostly solid.
In the early days, I allocated to all the Cosmos chains. Remember, Sei is just another Cosmos chain, so it's all built with Backman's Cosmos SDK. Remember, Backman was together with Vitalik and Charles Hutchinson, part of the Ethereum and original founding group, so they all have the same architecture. But I invested in Injective Tier, Sei in the beginning, but I sold them all and rolled them all into Sui because at the end of the day, I'm an L1 guy. I don't believe in these Cosmos type dependency chains where Sei you still require some atom to do anything. It's like Ethereum and layer 2s where you always need some gas and it's always a pain in the ass. So just doing anything on Sei is just a pain in the ass. Once you're on the Sei world, yes, it's extremely fast. But remember, their entire value proposition was to be a custom, dedicated trading blockchain. Well, who went to market first with that value proposition? Hyperliquid. I believe Hyperliquid has taken away their users from potentially where Sei would have gone. Injective Tier as well. So I believe Hyperliquid killed the Cosmos ecosystem, in my opinion. And we'll see. We'll talk about that next year and see if I was right.
Yep. Very interesting take. I want to thank you both. We've gone over the hour, but it's been a great show, very broad perspective. And one thing we didn't even cover was the tariff stuff, but the EU rolled over for the US on the negotiations, which was surprising to see, but it shows you how important it is. But that will also be a tailwind for markets. So with that, everybody, big thank you to Jacob. First time on the show. Great work and great input. And thank you, Marty, as well. Follow these gentlemen. We'll put links below. I didn't get your link, Jacob, for where you are.
My link is James's link.
Jacob, good job, man. It's really nice to have you here. Hopefully we can have you on again.
Yeah, it was enjoyable. Enjoyed being here.
Yeah. And follow Marty as well, especially for this AKA chain. IKA.
Yeah. Okay. Just research it. I've had them on my space. They're unbelievably talented guys. They bring in a game-changing solution, MPC, which I'm a big fan of because, I hate permissioned systems like bridges. Yeah. I just want to make one final point, James. These tariff things, don't forget. There's only a few ways to get out of debt for the US, and one is austerity and forgiveness. These tariffs and renegotiations with countries may appear to be tariffs and new negotiations, but what they really are is debt forgiveness. I think we've forgiven a lot of debt with Japan, Taiwan, and every trade deal Trump makes. So this is a man on a mission to get the debt down. Don't underestimate these things. These are massive turning points in the history of the world.
The easiest way to stack Bitcoin is take all the tariff revenue and buy Bitcoin with it, and then use that ultimately 2 years from now to pay off the debt. That's the no-brainer. And
James,
I do know
that's the game. That's what they're going to do.
Lutnick understands this, and so does Basent, and they have the ear of you-know-who. That's all that matters. That's the game. And I think Saylor knows this. That's why he's front-running everything, and that's why Marathon is front-running, because people like, I can't remember the CEO of Marathon. It's not Thea, something with TH, but he is stacking like a madman too. So all the cards are on the table, and it's very clear to see where we're going. Just stay healthy, my friends. Thank you, everybody. Chat with you next week.
Thanks, James, for having us. Brilliant show as always.
Thanks,
Thank you, Jacob. Okay, cheers, guys. Bye.
Adios.